Hi everyone. So here is an animated summary of the story Red Eye. It is full of pictures just to help you understand the story better. Let's go forward with this. So you can see a snake on your screen, and that is a garter snake. The reason I'm telling you this is because the story Red Eye is about a garter snake with red eyes. Let me introduce to you the main characters in this story. There is a little girl whose name is Cynthia Ann or Cindy. People call her Cindy. She is 9 years old and she likes snakes. And then she has a sister who's a little older than her. Her name is Emily. She is 12 years old. She's silly, afraid of spiders, white mice, frogs, and snakes. So these are the two girls in the story. Now, one day, Cindy visited her uncle's farm. It was summer, and she had gone there for a holiday. That is Cindy. And what did she find there? While she was there on the farm, she found a garter snake. You can see the snake there on the screen. Now let's learn a little about that snake that she found. It is a garter snake. It is as long as Cindy's arm. It had 3 pale stripes and orange dots on its body, little blue slashes on its head, and of course, red eyes. So remember all these things about the snake. Now, when Cindy found that garter snake, she told her uncle about it. That's her uncle there. Sorry if he doesn't look very handsome. So her uncle said to her, "Take it home." And Cindy thought about it, but she said, "No, Emily is afraid of snakes. And if I take it home, it will be very bad for her." But her uncle said, "No, no, don't worry about it. A garter snake is not venomous. It's not poisonous. It will not harm anyone." And then Cindy began to think. And she remembered the time when Emily had refused to lend her pocket money for their father's birthday present, and how she had complained that that Cindy had used Emily's hairbrush to brush the dog. And she thought that her sister, Emily, was a mean person. So if she had a pet like a snake to look after, maybe she would learn something from Red Eye and not be such a mean person after that. So she told her uncle, "I think she will learn from Red Eye, so I will take it home with me." Hence, Cindy's aunt came along. She's not very pretty either, I'm sorry. But that's her aunt. And her aunt said, "Use this coffee can, poke small holes in the lid." So her aunt gave her a coffee can and said, "You can put the garter snake in this coffee can and take it home with you. But don't forget to make small holes in the lid. Don't make the holes very big, because snakes are escape artists. That means they can escape out of anything. So be careful. It will get out of this coffee can if you're not careful." So Cindy did that. She made little holes in the lid of the coffee can, the top part, and she put the little snake into it and took it home. Now she's reached home. When she got home, her mother helped her to find an old fish tank. You can see the fish tank there on the right side of your screen. And she allowed Cindy to keep the garter snake in that fish tank. And Cindy had a wonderful time watching the garter snake in the fish tank. She would feed it, she would give it raw fish, and she would watch how it would open its mouth wide and swallow that entire piece whole. And then you would see a large lump in the body of the snake, and it would just get smaller and smaller as it went down deeper and deeper into its body. And Cindy would talk about it to Emily, and Emily hated that. She said it just made her sick. And once the snake even shed its skin, and Cindy took that shed skin to show it to Emily because she was so fascinated with it. But Emily didn't like it at all. She started screaming. She couldn't stand it. Snakes shed their skin, right? They shed their skin when they need to grow. So that's what happened. Now, one day, you can see that garter snake in there. He looks pretty happy over there. But one day, someone left the lid of that fish tank open. You can see the lid open slightly. And what happened? The garter snake disappeared from there. It climbed out. We heard earlier that the garter snake is a very good escape artist, right? So it escaped. And when Cindy found that it had escaped from the fish tank, she was very upset. She started shouting, "Someone left the lid open and Red Eye's gone." And her sister had just come from school, Emily. So she told her sister, "You finally managed to get rid of Red Eye." She thought her sister had left the lid open purposely because she did not like the snake. But her sister said, "I didn't do anything. I just got back from school. I didn't do it, I promise." And she actually hadn't done it. And then her mother came along and asked the girls to stop fighting. She said, "Stop fighting. Let's all go and look for the snake. We will all look for Red Eye." And Emily said, "No, I'm not looking for any snake," because snakes actually disgusted her. They made her scared. She didn't like snakes. And then when she found that her sister Cindy was crying so much, she said, "Okay, I will search for the snake." And they all began to search for the snake, high and low, all over the house, but they could not find the snake. And then what happened was mother, father, and Cindy sat down to watch TV at night. And at that time, they heard a terrible scream coming from the bathroom. Who was in the bathroom? Emily. Look at her there. She was screaming. And now, if you look at the picture very carefully, you will know why she was screaming. She was screaming because she had found Red Eye sitting right there among the towels. It must have been a nice warm place there. So it was snuggled over there. She screamed, and then she held Red Eye in the towel. As it was, she gathered up the towel and took it running into the room where her parents and Cindy were sitting and watching TV. And then she showed it to them. See, Red Eye dropped out of the towel in her hand. And she was shaking with fear. She was shuddering. She was terrified, and yet she had helped her sister. And now Cindy realized that Emily was really not a bad person. She had misunderstood her. She was actually a nice person. In fact, she hated snakes so much. She was terrified of them. She shuddered when she even thought about snakes. And yet she had helped Cindy to find her snake, and she had brought the snake back for Cindy. So she must be a very good person. And now it was Cindy's turn to be good to her. She knew that Emily couldn't stand snakes. And of course, a snake is a wild creature and should not be kept in captivity. Cindy realized that, and she decided that very soon she would take it back to her uncle's farm and set it free. It would be good for everyone. It would be good for the snake, first of all. It would be so happy to be out in the wild, and it would be great for her sister as well. So she went back to her uncle's farm and she left the snake over there. The garter snake was definitely going to be happy. And it went away, found its new home, and lived happily ever after. And that's the end of the story. I hope it was useful and you understood every part of it. But do read the text because there are a lot of tiny details that I have not told you in the summary. This is just a summary. So please go through the text and learn those little details well if you want to score good marks. Okay? Bye for now.